Next up, we had Saraya. Hope I'm saying it right. If nothing else, it's very important to me to nail proper pronunciations. So, she's cutting a promo, and then, I don't know, about a minute in, she starts saying, "Don't give me time cues. I'll tell you when I'm done." And I'm like, this hasn't even run long. So clearly this is some kind of angle. You're not really getting time cues. And then we proceeded to have one of the worst segments in the history of this company. This is a failure in every single way possible and imaginable. As Saraya, basically what we had here was Saraya admitting on behalf of the company that their women's division stinks. Never admit that to your fans. Why? I know there's a certain segment of online fans who are disappointed in the AEW women's division. My stance remains the same. I would simply ignore them and just do the best job you can with the talent that you have. And if you know you're doing a good job and you're getting people over, it doesn't matter what people on Twitter think that you're doing, or just loud voices on Twitter think that you're doing. The last thing I would do, though, is acknowledge these criticisms on television. Whether you agree with the criticisms or not, to be honest, maybe Tony Khan does think he's doing a poor job with the women's division. Maybe he does think the women's division could use some work and he thinks it stinks. You should never tell your audience that. You should never have a baby face especially come out and tell the audience that, which is what we had here. So she brings out all of the baby faces, including champion Toni Storm. And she's doing this gimmick where she's, patting them all on the head. Let me introduce you to these women. This is Toni Storm. She's our champion. What? How condescending was this towards everybody in the ring, to the whole division? Oh, we got the big WWE star here, and she's going to let us know who all these fine ladies are, including the champion, with a little pat on the head for her. Toni Storm with your little title belt. I'm Paige. Paige here. I'm going to pat you on the head, and I'm going to tell all these people why you're great. You know why? Because you've been ineffective at letting them know why you're great. And I think Toni Storm's been doing a good job. Toni Storm didn't deserve this kind of treatment. None of the people in that ring did. God, did this suck. The whole thing sucked. She even used the word revolution. All this was missing was Stephanie McMahon and the submission sorority. Oh my God. Not only was this awful and too long and lost the crowd and nobody cared about the ensuing match, but it was so counterproductive. She's going to make changes. So you're admitting it stinks. That's number one. Never admit that it stinks. Number two, what are these changes? She says she's going to make changes and then doesn't say what changes she's making. Number three, why is she in charge all of a sudden? Because she can't wrestle? Can we get some clarity on that? What changes need to be made? Lay them out. If you're going to tell us that this whole ass division on your show stinks, at least go all the way with it and tell us why it stinks and what you're going to do to fix it. What an irredeemably bad mess and counterproductive and two steps backwards this entire mess and fiasco was. And while I'm at it, I got no use for Saraya anyway. I forgot Paige existed. Now look, I get it. She's got 1 billion followers on her dopey social media. She's incredibly popular. She got big pops both times she's appeared. I'm not going to take that away. Me personally, I got no use for her. Average wrestler even with the curve, and who knows if she could ever get in the ring again. Nothing fantastic on the mic either, but she gets reactions. Okay. But now we're going to make her the face of this, call it a revolution, tell everybody it stinks, promise to make changes, not detail what the changes are. What the fuck are we doing? Can we just put people out there and have matches? And do your best to get people over? People are always going to complain about this stuff. Don't give in to them. Dare them to stop watching. Who cares? Just do your best to get people over. It worked with Britt Baker. It worked with Jade Cargill. It's working with Jamie Hayter, who, by the way, gets buried in all this mess. Everything was going great with her. And that gets put on the back burner for this bullshit. Nothing about this was good or positive. It all stunk and it all sucked. And it's all counterproductive. It's 3 steps back. And like the stupid poker chip, you know what it is? It's WWE bullshit. And if I wanted to watch WWE, I got 5 hours of it. Get it together. Now, poor Toni Storm has to go out there, and poor Serena Deeb have to go out there and have a championship match, which is now all of a sudden a lumberjack match. Who asked for that? More of just making these women random faces in the crowd that don't mean anything because the big star Paige is here. And then Storm and Deeb have a completely heatless match because Philly didn't like any of this and decided to sit on their hands and go buy some chicken fingers. And deservedly so. It deserved to get nothing. Not Storm and Deeb, but this awful segment. Storm and Deeb are victims in all of this. They went out there and had a decent little match, but who could focus on it or remember it with the bullshit that preceded it? Storm and Deeb are out here doing pile drivers off the turnbuckle, and no one cares. And we got Willow Nightingale and the rest of the division running around ringside looking like a bunch of faceless geeks, while Paige is on commentary stinking it up. Taking all the attention from a champion who's done nothing but everything right since she's been in the company and performed well and worked hard and got saddled on camera with someone nobody likes and everything else. Did you hear Britt's little side swipe on old TR during this whole fiasco? Saying Toni Storm's been aligned with problematic people. So, I mean, what are the positives here? It's all negatives. What are the positives? You got Paige now. She seems to be popular. You're using her in a terrible, condescending way towards every other woman on the roster. And thank God they didn't have Cargill out here with this mess. They didn't have any of the heels except for Britt and the gang. So you didn't see Nyla Rose, none of them. But they kept Cargill out of this, which reminded me of what Paulie Dangerously used to do. Paul Heyman used to do in ECW whenever he'd have a big rah-rah moment to get the crowd all riled up, announcing a pay-per-view date or whatever the fuck. He'd leave Justin Credible in the back because he didn't want Credible out there with the rest of the crew because he wanted the guy to keep his heat. Because believe it or not, he really was an effective, big-time heel at one point who got a shit ton of heat. So thank God they left Cargill out of this. And I never thought I'd be comparing Jade Cargill to Justin Credible. But here I am, screaming on a Thursday afternoon about one of the worst segments I've ever seen in AEW. What they should have done was send out the masked Dark Order goons to go out here and end this fiasco. Let's just redo December 2019 while we're at it. That's junk. It's junk. And a real Philly crowd would have booed this shit out of the building. They gave him the next best thing by not giving it any reaction, which may have been a better message. They should have given him the full Philly treatment and chanted, "Change the channel." Because I would have if I didn't have to review this dreck.